Walk into any supermarket in America at 6 in the morning before the crowds arrive, and you are standing inside what might be the greatest illusion ever constructed by human civilization. 40,000 products line these shelves. Apples from Chile sit next to berries from Mexico, beside cuts of beef that were born in one state, slaughtered in another, and packaged in a third. Everything is bright, everything is clean, everything is profoundly, suspiciously cheap. A bag of chips costs less than $1. A 2-liter bottle of soda costs less than a gallon of fancy brand water. A fast food cheeseburger, engineered with dozens of ingredients, transported thousands of miles, and assembled by minimum wage workers, sells for the price of a postage stamp, plus a little more. We have been told, for decades, that this is progress, that this is the miracle of the modern food system. But the price tag on the shelf tells only the smallest part of the story. The true cost of cheap food is paid somewhere else, in poisoned rivers, in broken bodies, in the quiet suffering of workers who will never appear on any corporate earnings call. We are all eating this food. 60 miles outside of Greeley, Colorado, on a flat stretch of land that used to be prairie, 100,000 cattle stand shoulder to shoulder inside a confined feeding operation the size of a small city. You can smell it from 20 miles away on a hot day. The air carries hydrogen sulfide, ammonia, and methane in concentrations that have been documented to exceed EPA safety thresholds for human exposure. The families who live nearby, predominantly low-income, predominantly Latino, have among the highest rates of respiratory illness in the state. This is a concentrated animal feeding operation, or CAFO. There are approximately 25,000 of them in the United States. They produce over 90% of the meat consumed in this country, and they operate, by design, out of sight. Most are located in rural counties with limited political power and even more limited regulatory infrastructure. They are surrounded by legal agreements, non-disclosure clauses, and property transactions, ag-gag laws in more than a dozen states that make it a criminal act to photograph or film inside a facility without permission. The industry has spent 30 years ensuring that the distance between your dinner plate and where that dinner actually came from is, in every sense, as vast as possible. Everything in the American food system leads back to corn. Not the sweet corn you boil on the cob in August, but field corn, dent corn, a commodity crop so thoroughly embedded in the architecture of industrial agriculture that it is almost impossible to eat a processed meal in America that does not contain it. High-fructose corn syrup sweetens the soda and the bread and the ketchup. Corn-derived citric acid preserves the chips. Cornstarch thickens the soup. The chicken you eat ate corn. The beef you eat ate corn. The farm-raised salmon you eat ate corn. Between 1995 and 2021, the United States federal government paid approximately $116 billion in corn subsidies, money drawn directly from taxpayers and deposited into the accounts of agricultural corporations that are, by any measure, among the most profitable entities on earth. Archer Daniels Midland, Cargill, Bunge, companies that process more agricultural commodity than most nations produce. This money does not go to the small farmer in Iowa struggling to make ends meet. It goes to the institutional landowners and commodity traders who produce corn at a scale and a cost that makes it cheaper to ship abroad and to use as animal feed than it would be for a subsistence farmer in Mexico or West Africa to grow. Locally, that subsistence farmer loses. Their farm fails. They migrate to the city or north. And this has been American policy, by design, for 50 years. In the spring of 2017, Scott Pruitt, then administrator of the United States Environmental Protection Agency, overruled his own agency's scientists to keep a pesticide called Chlorpyrifos legal for use on food crops. The EPA's own research had concluded that there is no safe level of Chlorpyrifos exposure for children. The chemical, an organophosphate, developed from nerve agent research during World War II, had been shown in peer-reviewed studies to cause measurable reductions in IQ, working memory, and attention span in children exposed in the womb or during early development. Farm worker advocacy groups describe children living near treated fields showing up at school unable to concentrate, with tremors, with developmental delays. Chlorpyrifos is sprayed on apples, oranges, strawberries, grapes, broccoli, and dozens of other crops that appear clean and perfect. Dow Chemical, which manufactures Chlorpyrifos under the trade name Lorspan, donated $1 million to the Trump inaugural committee 4 months before Pruitt's decision was announced. The pesticide remained on the market until 2021, when the pace for Austin ban was a top-secret sign. Ban the industry continues to challenge. Chlorpyrifos residues have been found in the umbilical cord blood of infants born to farm worker mothers. These children never chose to be exposed. Their mothers had no choice but to work. The most widely used pesticide in the history of agriculture is glyphosate, sold by Monsanto, now Bayer, under the brand name Roundup. It is applied to over 90% of soy and corn crops in the United States, to wheat fields as a pre-harvest desiccant, to golf courses and schoolyards, to the median strips between highways. It is so pervasive in the environment that it has been detected in rain, in groundwater, in the breast milk of mothers in 17 countries, in the urine of children who have never set foot on a farm. In 2015, the World Health Organization's International Agency for Research on Cancer classified glyphosate as probably carcinogenic to humans. Bayer has since paid over $11 billion in legal settlements to people who claimed their non-Hodgkin's lymphoma was caused by glyphosate exposure, while simultaneously continuing to insist the product is safe. The company's internal documents, revealed during litigation, showed that Monsanto ghost-wrote scientific papers that were published under the names of independent researchers, and actively worked to suppress and discredit the findings of scientists who reached unfavorable conclusions. This is not conspiracy theory. This is litigation record. This is deposition testimony. This happened. Meanwhile, Roundup-ready crops, genetically engineered to survive glyphosate application, have driven the evolution of over 40 species of glyphosate-resistant superweeds, which now infest over 60 million acres of American farmland. The solution being proposed by the same companies that created the problem, new seeds, engineered to survive even more toxic herbicide combinations. The treadmill keeps spinning.